CBS Sports dropped a new mock draft, and the Minnesota Vikings move up, but not for J.J. McCarthy. They move up to number 3 for Drake May. We're going to talk about this and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast. Cover your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout and a senior draft analyst. And thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our every days. And you know, I got to kick this intro to my guy, Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at The Talent Code. You talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ with the LSU Bengal Tigers, man. And what, man, we're here to bring you championship level content surrounding the NFL draft 24/7, 365. You know, on this podcast, man, you're going to get draft prospects. You're going to get draft strategies. And on Mondays, you're going to get mock draft Mondays, man, where we're going to go over the hottest mock drafts each and every single Monday. We're going to break them down. We're going to talk about what we like, what we don't like. And guess what, DP? Today we have a mock draft from CBS Sports, right? And there are a lot of intriguing situations, a lot of trades in the top 10. Then we're going to have a run on offensive linemen. And then somebody said that Brock Bowers, my generational prospect, DP, falls in this mock draft. So we have to talk about this. But man, listen, I want to tell everybody, hit the like button. If you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and comment after each segment. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel for the best NFL draft content. But DP, before we get this mock draft Monday started, man, why don't you hit them with our title sponsor?
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Let's get into it. CBS Sports latest mock draft at number 1. No brainer. Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC, to the Chicago Bears. At pick number 2, the Washington Commanders select Jaden Daniels, quarterback from LSU. At pick number 3, the Minnesota Vikings select Drake May, quarterback from North Carolina. At pick number 4, the Tennessee Titans trade with the Arizona Cardinals to select offensive tackle Joe Alt from Notre Dame. At pick number 5, the New York Jets trade up with the Los Angeles Chargers to select Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver from Ohio State. At pick number 6, the New York Giants select Malik Neighbors, wide receiver from LSU. At pick 7, the Arizona Cardinals, after trading down, select wide receiver from Washington, Rome Odunze. At pick number 8, the Atlanta Falcons select Dallas Turner, edge from Alabama. At pick number 9, the Denver Broncos move up with the Chicago Bears to select quarterback J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. And at pick 10, the Los Angeles Chargers select Talise Fuaga, offensive tackle from Oregon State. Keith, I got to go up. This is a lot.
That's what I was going to say. I just, before you get into analysis, I just have a couple instant reactions. And it's like just a couple phrases, right? Like, this is a lot. This is a lot to interpret. There's a lot going on. There's moves all over the place. I'm slightly confused, right? Because I don't think I've seen a mock draft for 2024 that has been this much movement. So I know even the listeners, right, are trying to digest this. So yes, definitely pull us up on YouTube, right? So that way you can actually see the picks and go through it. But DP, what do you want to start with this mock draft? I have a couple takeaways. What do you want to start with this mock draft?
I'm gonna start here. This stretch here. Pick 3 through 3 and 4. I'm not even gonna touch 5 yet, but 3 and 4. I understand pick 3 for the Minnesota Vikings trading up into the top 4, getting, this whole time we've been saying JJ McCarthy, but if you get into the top 3, you're getting one of the better quarterback. I'm not taking JJ McCarthy over Drake May, over Jaden Daniels, or over Caleb Williams. I don't care who is saying that should be a thing. Like, JJ McCarthy is not a better prospect than any of those guys, in my honest opinion. So I like the fact of going and getting Drake May and putting him in the offense with Kevin O'Connell, running the show, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. This, you go ahead and throw Justin Jefferson in that bag because now you got a rookie quarterback on that rookie deal, so it doesn't hurt you at all. And he's got a big arm quarterback that can really help him just continue his dominance in the league. But number 4, Arizona. If Arizona was to do this, if I'm Kyler Murray, I'm asking for a trade like immediately. I'm calling the GM and say, you know what? Go ahead and package me during round 1 and get me the heck up out of here. Because what are we doing? We trade back. And don't get me wrong, you got Rome Odunze. This team already has like 5 to 6 top 100 picks, including 2 in the first, I think 2 or 3 in the third, and 1 in the second. Keith, they don't really need to move down. Take the best player available, and that goes at number 5, who went to the Jets. And this is a lot. This is a whole lot that I'm just struggling with.
Yeah, so you looked at it from the Arizona Cardinals perspective, right? I think I'm critical, and not even think, I know I'm critical of this from the Tennessee Titans perspective. In a class that has so many offensive tackles, is it necessary? And I'm telling you, and this is how I feel about Joe Alt. I believe that Joe Alt is on the brink for me of one of those all-pro, like our top, grading scale, what we use at the Draft Network. I think that Joe Alt is there, right? Like right on the threshold that I really like Joe Alt. But I guess my question would be, in a class that may have other people that, the rankings all-pro, right? They may have other guys who are consistent Pro Bowl caliber players. Is it necessary to move up those spots to draft, the offensive tackle, but also to draft a guy in a deep offensive tackle class where you could potentially find different value, or potentially forget trading up? You might could trade down, right, to pick 10, pick 11, pick 12, and still come away with a guy that's extremely talented. So I would just, with my opinion, I get it. You're going to get your guy if you're the Tennessee Titans and Joe Alt, and then you compare him with Peter Skoronski right on the left side. Should be one of the best left sides in the NFL moving forward, right? But I would still ask myself, is it worth it in a sense because of how much talent is at this offensive tackle class?
Yeah, I'm not trading them into the top 5. From where did they come from? Was it?
I think it was at 7. I think they're usually at 7.
7, yes. So they're trading from 7 into not just the top 5, into the top 4 for a tackle in a loaded tackle group. Where, because truthfully, Keith, like looking at the situation from 4 to 7, what are we panicking about? What are we panicking about Joe Alt not being there? I don't have I don't.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look at it, DP, right? I believe that the Jets, they addressed their offensive tackle need, right? They signed Tyron Smith. Mm-hmm. The Giants, unless they plan on moving Andrew Thomas back to the right side, which I doubt, because they finally struck gold with him at the left side. And then you have the Arizona Cardinals, who have Paris Johnson and I'm trying to remember who the other
Jonah Williams is who they signed.
Yeah, Jonah Williams, right? So they're not going to tackle. So I think that's a really good point, DP. And I mean, you pick at pick 7, so you don't have to worry about the Cardinals. That was your pick. So I'm with you, is that there's probably no need to panic unless you're worried about another team trading up that high. But I would think other teams' philosophy would be that we're going to wait too if we want offensive tackle, because there's so many of them in this class.
Keith, at this point, we're projecting as a draft community 9 offensive linemen off the board in round 1, right? And if that number actually comes to fruition and they break some record, what do I look like trading up and losing draft capital? I don't care. Joe, one of my highest graded players, but so is Olu Fashanu. I have Tyler. Tyler
Olu is not even in the top. I don't even think Olu went in the top 10, right? So
no, he didn't.
I mean, he's still sitting there somewhere between pick 10 and 11 and 20, right? Where we talked about, you could potentially move back and still have a guy that you potentially feel really good about. But yeah, Marius Mims, you still got Kingsley Sewell-Mattia sitting out there. JC Latham is still. Yeah, Troy Fontano. There's still a lot of guys that's sitting out there, DP. And I guess I would go the angle of, instead like you moving up for an offensive tackle, I would go to however my scouting department is structured, right? And it's like, hey, Joe Alt, we can move up for him, right? We can stand pat and see if he falls to us, or we can trade back and get more draft capital. So that's when you lean on your scouts and say, hey, if it's not Joe Alt, who's the guy that we feel really confident about being a Pro Bowl caliber player? But DP, there's so much from these first 10 picks that I want to break down, that can we do something just a little bit different, or we can kind of stay with this first round of, oh, maybe we can carry it over, right? We'll carry over picks 1 through 10, just one takeaway, and then we'll transition to picks 11 through 20. So that's what we're gonna do, man, because there's so much movement. I was not expecting this, DP. There's so much movement in this mock draft that we're gonna kind of blend the next segment. We're gonna take picks 1 through 10, one last takeaway, and then we're gonna go picks 11 through 20.
Say goodbye to busted brackets, because FanDuel lets you bet on every single game of the tournament. Guys, whether you're betting on a big upset or a #1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Right now, new customers get $200 back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200, guys, to use on point spreads, money lines, so much more. You can even pick who's gonna win it all. All right, that's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines, so much more. You could even pick who's gonna win it all. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. All you need to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. One last takeaway from the top 10 picks, Keith. What's your takeaway?
My takeaway is this, that we are drumming up a lot of steam with these quarterbacks, right? Especially so many going in the top 10. Is that 4? That's JJ, Drake, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and I feel like I'm missing somebody. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, JJ McCarthy. So that's the 4, right? So I'm gonna even assume we're probably going to have another quarterback in this mock draft. But my takeaway is this, that the last time that we've seen this many quarterbacks go, DP, was 2021, right? And then you look and you use revisionist history, right? Hindsight is 2020. You have Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance win 1, 2, 3. You have Justin Fields win 11, and you have Mac Jones sitting at 15. So this is the last time.
Only one of those guys are still with their team, Keith.
Only one of them. You talking about? So you went 1 for 5, right? And Mac Jones is still at the pay. No,
he's in Jacksonville behind Trevor.
Yeah, he's in Jacksonville. I just thought about that. So yeah, it's literally you went 1 for 5. But if you remember that draft class, DP, it was so much hype about how talented these guys are, what they're going to bring, how they're quote unquote multiple generational talents in one draft, DP, and let alone 4 years later, is like you said, there's only one guy. So are we sitting in position, DP, where we can be looking at the same exact situation? We're talking about teams being so aggressive to get a quarterback. Are we sure that we're not using media hype to, I guess, like fuel this quarterback situation to where we feel like all of these guys are super elite talented? Or is this class correctly graded as far as the quarterbacks? Which side are you on with this?
I mean, I think the top 3 especially, right? I think the top 3 in terms of Caleb, Jaden, and Drake are in their own space. I think JJ has all the tools and talent to be a dude, but we have to see it, right? Like I think I tweeted out, like, you know, someone was trying to compare him to Drake May, and I'm like, guys, Drake May was asked to be Superman every single snap, every game, where JJ McCarthy walked into the office and was Clark Kent. He had the briefcase, the glasses, and the suit on. They didn't ask him to be the Superman and to carry the team. They win the national championship with almost any of these quarterbacks under the helm, right? Like that run game, that defense, that offensive line. So I think it is a good group, and they're graded for the most part appropriately. But I do feel like that QB, anywhere from QB 4 to 6, is getting pumped up because of the position.
I can see that. And then I know there was one last talking point you wanted to talk about, what picks 1 through 10, and that was the Los Angeles Chargers? I know you wanted to bring that point up
right here at 5, Keith. Like you trade away Keenan Allen, you release Mike Williams, right? Everybody in the stratosphere hates Quentin Johnston. You know what I mean? Like you got Josh Palmer, but you still need receiver help. And with the best receiver, the two best, 2 to 3 back-to-back picks, 5, 6, and 7. You got Marv, Neighbors, Rome. And you say, well, if Marv's going to go 5, he's not going to go to 5 to us. Like, what are we doing? Absolutely not. Like, and don't get me wrong, I love Talise Fuaga, But I just no, there's no way in the world I'm trading down from 5 and Marvin Harrison Jr. falls right into like right there for me, right there for the pickings. I'm not messing with that. Let me get Justin Herbert for the next 10 years throwing all passes, deep ball, short ball, intermediate ball, throwing everything to Marvin Harrison and feeding that man 15 times a game. Give me that over selecting a tackle in such a loaded tackle group.
No, I think I agree with you on that situation. But DP, let's go ahead and read all picks 11 through 20. And if 11 through 20 was any resemblance of what picks 1 through 10, and we are in for a roller coaster. So DP, why don't you kick it off? Picks 11 through 20.
Let's do it. Pick 11, the New England Patriots select Olu Fashanu, offensive tackle from Penn State. At pick 12, the Chicago Bears select Jarrett Verse, edge rusher from Florida State. At pick 13, the Las Vegas Raiders select Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback from Toledo. At pick 14, the New Orleans Saints select Troy Fautanu, offensive lineman from Washington. At pick 15, the Indianapolis Colts select Terrion Arnold, cornerback from Alabama. At pick 16, the Seattle Seahawks select Amarius Mims, offensive tackle from Georgia. At pick 17, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver from Texas. At pick 18, the Cincinnati Bengals select Byron Murphy II, interior defensive lineman from Texas. At pick 19, the Los Angeles Rams select Johnny Jerzon Newton, interior defensive lineman from Illinois. And at pick 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers select offensive lineman Graham Barton from Duke. Keith,
So this is, let's say this, DP, that the fun thing with mock drafts, right, is that when you get to the actual draft and you review the actual draft, right, there are a lot of situations that you don't necessarily care for because you feel like the NFL messed that up, right? So it's kind of hard to be critical of mock drafts because if they're mocking the draft, right, then they're going to be things that you dislike, which is it a good mock draft then, right? Like, is it a good mock draft? So I thought about this because I'm seeing guys like A.D. Mitchell go in the top 17. I'm like, okay, that's wild. Byron Murphy, like, just fits I never thought of. Even was that pick 16 or 15 with Amarius Mims going to the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm not 1,000% sure of how the Seahawks feel about Abraham Lucas, but last time I checked, I thought everybody felt pretty decently about him. So Amarius Mims going there, I think he's probably on the same level, in my opinion, with Abraham Lucas. I just think one went to Georgia, one went to Washington State. But it's like, as far as upside and potential to give you negative plays, I think is right in line with each other.
Yeah, like that was a pick that really caught me off guard as I scrolled down. I'm like, I don't really understand. Like, they have other needs, and I don't view Abraham Lucas or Charles Cross as a problem or a need to address. So I didn't really understand that decision there. Even though, I'm a big fan of Amarius Mims and his potential. I think with his athleticism and physicality and like brute strength and everything, you coach up some of the technical spots and you'll have an even better player at the tackle position than Lucas. But Lucas and Charles have been good. You know what I mean? For Geno Smith and that offense, even in the run game where Lucas wasn't I think it was Lucas was a better run, but both of them were air raid coming out of college. You know, him and Charles Cross both came out of the air raid where people wonder, like, how would they handle run blocking? And they've been, to me, just fine from when I watched the tape. Pick 17 for me, Keith. I'm not gonna lie. I actually like this pick of Adonai Mitchell to Jacksonville. You lose Calvin Ridley.
Okay. We kind of on two different sides then. We're on two different sides with that one. Go ahead, explain.
I like it because, now don't get me wrong, you could have went Keon Coleman here. You could have went a couple different situations, but I know Adonai Mitchell, because of how he tested, we know he's a really good route runner, nuance, stuff like that. People are, more hoping like, man, hopefully he plays up to that speed and not so tempoed when he gets to the league. But if that's his game, that's his game. I don't know if you're ever going to see that 4.34 that you saw at the combine actually on the field. But I think with the size, the jump ball ability, the route running, the hands from what I've seen on tape, he gives Trevor Lawrence that big weapon that can do a little bit of everything that he's accustomed to, right? The freshman year Justin Ross prior to the injury, the T. Higgins, right? Like, we've seen him just thrive at Clemson with bigger body receivers, and he hasn't truly had that since he got to Jacksonville. And I think Adonai Mitchell at 6'4", 210 pounds would give him that kind of big XZ receiver that he's kind of almost longed for since getting to the NFL.
Yeah, I would say this. I like the player and team fit. I don't like the number 17th overall pick. I think that's the part why I have to be a little critical. Before we transition, DP, I just want to give one team who hasn't done a great job of drafting at all. They moved down and they found a pretty solid pick, and that was the New England Patriots. I know we hate to give them credit, but it may be a new day, DP. They moved down from pick 3 to pick 11, realized that, hey, we're probably not even quarterback ready as a team, and then they go get one of the players with as much upside as guys that we're not stamping as generational top 10 forever guys, right? And they was able to draft Olu Fashanu at pick 11, and that's something that if you'd have asked 5 months ago, 6 months ago, right, you'd have had to been at the number 2 overall pick or the number 1 overall pick to get an Olu Fashanu. So they moved down, proper trade, not sure what compensation would be for that, right? But to get Olu Fashanu at pick 11, I think is a pretty good situation.
100%. I think that's a great situation to be able to get this type of player, this stud, this freak athlete, on the field that has incredibly intelligent, powerful, everything. You get this kid and put him on, and then you brought back, it wasn't Trent Brown. They brought back Michael Onwenu, I believe it was. So he's gonna play right tackle. You throw Olu at the left tackle. 2 Big Ten physical, just gifted guys at the tackle spot, and whoever's at quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, as of right now. You don't know what they will be able to do, second round, whether it's Spencer Rattler, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, whoever, to learn from Brissett. That's setting them up for success with 2 bookend tackles like that.
Yo, with DP, let's keep this thing going, man. Look at picks 1 through 10. That was volatile, right? There's a lot of head scratches. I would say this: pick 11 through 20 kind of solidified itself, right? We have kind of a bit of a foundation for what this mock draft is going to be. But DP, my favorite part of any mock draft is picks 21 through 32. Those playoff teams, the Super Bowl contenders. We get all of those picks in picks 21 through 32. So coming up next, man, we're about to go through picks 21 through 32.
Thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Let's close this thing out. At pick 21, the Miami Dolphins select Laiatu Latu, edge rusher from UCLA. At pick 22, the Philadelphia Eagles select cornerback Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. At pick 23, the New England Patriots select Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver from LSU. At pick 24, the Dallas Cowboys select offensive lineman Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. At pick 25, the Green Bay Packers select cornerback Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. At pick 26, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Brock Bowers, tight end, out of Georgia. At pick 27, the Arizona Cardinals select Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback out of Alabama. At pick 28, the Buffalo Bills select safety out of Minnesota, Tyler Nubin. At pick 29, the Detroit Lions select Chop Robinson, edge rusher from Penn State. At pick 30, the Baltimore Ravens select J.C. Latham, offensive tackle out of Alabama. At pick 31, the San Francisco 49ers select offensive tackle Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. And at pick 32, the Kansas City Chiefs go offensive tackle Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. This was a nice little run on the back end on tackles. But Keith, I got to go. Oh, I got 26. Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers falling all the way into the mid-20s and going to Tampa. And I don't like it. I don't like the fit. They got Cole Kieft, who's like an outstanding blocker. Cade Otton has really taken steps as a receiver. He's a good blocker as well. But then you bring back Mike Evans, you have Trey Palmer, you have Chris Godwin, Rachaad White catches the ball in the backfield. Where are the targets? You know what I mean? There's only one football, man.
And I know that head coaches change and quarterbacks change. It just has not been a good. If I remember correctly, I mean, outside of Gronk with Tom Brady, right? That it's just not. It hasn't been a great tight end situation. And like I said, I don't.
Kelce and Mahomes. That's pretty much it.
Wait, what you say?
Kelce and Mahomes. And
no,
then
I'm not talking about the I'm talking about specifically with Tampa. I'm saying Tampa hasn't been it hasn't been a good place, right? Like you're talking about OJ Howard has been there. Like there's been some talented tight ends that have come through there that just hasn't. So you know, it's just kind of one of those things, right? It's like if you're a quarterback and you get drafted to Cleveland, you're like, man, I don't know how this. And it's just totally different situation, right? It could be a new head coach, new own, like. He just like it just has that taste.
I'm a quarterback. Like this isn't gonna work. You know what I mean? So it's just a weird fit, Keith. And also I don't understand how he fell.
That's what I was about to say. I don't see that happening. There's other teams, you know, above there that can use a tight end of Brock Bowers. And we had our conversation of Brock Bowers, but I don't think when you say you don't believe he was a top tier talent that you thought he was the 26th overall pick either, right? I don't think that was your talking point. But DP, I would say this that this picks 21 through 32, right? The first segment, picks 1 through 10, we said was extremely volatile, and it's like, what are we doing? Picks 11 through 20 was kind of like, okay, I get it. This is a mix of both. I think I either love the pick or I hate it, like the whole way through, right? There's no in between with these picks. Tyler Nubin going that high after, you know, his pro day, putting the numbers out there, question marks. I just don't see the Buffalo Bills going that high, but you followed it up with a potential Chop Robinson matching up with Aiden Hutchinson. I love that situation, right? And then if you go back up to, I think, pick 22 and 23. Matter of fact, no, I'm sorry. Stay at pick 30. J.C. Latham with the Baltimore Ravens. I love that. I love that selection, man. You're the big, powerful right tackle, running schemes, going to get after. He's going to move people, right mentality, right? I love
Derrick
that.
Henry in the backfield.
Derrick Henry in the backfield, Lamar Jackson. They're going to tote the rock, and that's a perfect situation for him. And then the last one I talked about a little bit last week was the Jackson Powers Johnson, right? I hope that we start to see that more and more. And I talked about same exact thing Travis Frederick brought to the Dallas Cowboys, right? Jackson Powers Johnson can do the same thing. So there's a couple ones I really liked and a couple ones I just was not sure.
Yeah, I think this was definitely a kind of a wild stretch. I like the Laiatu Latu. You know, you lose.
I feel like DP, if we see that one, right, that and like him and Jalen Phillips walk in the locker room, that's the Spider-Man meme, right? It's like I'm you, me. Like, what are we doing?
100%.
I understand it, right? Need another edge rush. I think Bradley Chubb tore his ACL last year, so I 100% get it. But yeah, I mean, I like it, but I think those are very comparable players, and that's probably my comp for Laiatu.
And I don't have a hard time believing he's gonna fall into the 20s unless like there's some medical iffiness.
But you know, DP, this is the third time we've seen these edge rushers fall, because I think we went over our boy Ryan Fowler's mock draft, and then we did somebody else's mock draft and they fell too. So I don't know if this, the quote, right? The per league sources, right? Where you never can give up. That works best for you because you can't give up your source. So you could just say you have per league sources. I don't know if that's a thing, that's a trend, or if that's just how people feel about the edge rushers.
Keith, I feel this is a pick that stood out to me heavy was Brian Thomas Jr. to the New England Patriots, right?
How do you feel about it?
You got Jacoby Brissett. So in the first round, you trade out of 3. You end up getting 11 and 23. And with 11, you take Olu Fashanu, give yourself bookend tackles or Michael O on the right side, that you just re-signed. Jacoby Brissett's going to be taking those snaps under center. Bring in Brian Thomas Jr. I said it, like I think he was in when we did our tiers, I think he was in my tier 2 of wide receivers. I feel like with his physical gifts and size, he has like wide receiver 1 type of upside, but it's to me the ladder to get there. It's got a good couple steps, you know what I mean? And so I think like you put him in this offense, they're gonna run the ball, they're gonna try to force you into single high, which is kind of right up his alley, right? Where he can dominate going vertical, the vertical plane at the catch point, being a tall, long-armed, vertical leaper, things like that. And then you say, okay, if I can get Spencer Rattler in the second or the third, if I can get Michael Penix in the second, because Michael Penix, Spencer Rattler, nor Bo Nix were in the back end of this first round, maybe you can get that quarterback, right? Or you say, you know what, forget getting the quarterback this year altogether, and you just build the team up with these draft picks, and then look at a Quinn Ewers, a Jalen Milroe, a Shedeur Sanders, a Carson Beck in 2025. You look at that and you kind of punt, but that's kind of where I look at it, like, all right, this was an interesting pick. I don't hate it because I absolutely think he's going round 1. Without, passing on quarterback, kind of lets me know, okay, if you go, then you pass on the quarterback again, it's all about improving the roster instead of just, hey, we got to get a QB type situation.
Yeah, I agree. I like the direction. I just don't necessarily know if the player is for the best situation, just because I say this, that what Brian Thomas has, he's really good. And it's the jack of all trades versus being a master of one or a master of none, however you want to perceive the phrase, right? But the point is that the guy that can't but have, instead of being a master of one thing, right? Wouldn't you want a guy that's versatile? And I think right now, for especially the New England Patriots, they need a guy that can be a jack of all trades instead of being a master of one thing. I think if you throw Brian Thomas in there to being a number one wide receiver, he showcased on film that he can do one or two things really, really well at a high level. But I think the New England Patriots need more and well-rounded offensive firepower, but I do agree with them going after a wide receiver. So we'll see how that works, and I don't mind him going in the 20s, right? It's just I would like him if he went to the Packers or something right there, right, where they had different wide receivers. You got a Dontayvion Wicks, a Jaden Reed, a Christian Watson, throw him in there. I think he adds another element to it, or even potentially the Dallas Cowboys right after that pick 24. So, DP, I thought this, like I said, it was either picks that I really liked. I didn't care for it too much, but we'll see how this thing falls out, man, and that's the fun thing about doing Mock Draft Monday. But, DP, that wraps up another episode of Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, man. Your number one go-to source for everything NFL draft content. Listen, man, I want to tell our everydayers thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. If you haven't hit the like button, go ahead, hit the like button. If you haven't commented, make sure you drop a comment. And listen, if you're not subscribed to the Draft channel with the best NFL draft content, go ahead and subscribe to the Locked On NFL Draft YouTube channel. Listen, I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my co-host, man. My guy, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we always like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Listen, we're going to get into some perfect fits on tomorrow. We're going to pair prospects to teams, all right, on tomorrow. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.